So Recovery of an MMO Junkie, everyone's favorite anime from this / almost last season. It finished airing,
Preach.
and it was fun. It brought back a lot of memories of my early days on the internet. I wasn't an MMO guy per se, but it really reminded me of like all of the experiences I had online, and how that kind of like how my online experiences shaped who I've become today. And I thought that would be an interesting thing to talk about if either of you had similar experiences.
I mean, yeah, I agree.
I totally agree too. Like the internet has just like changed my life completely.
Mm-hmm.
Like all the friends I've made online have just, I've had a really different life thanks to that. So I'm pretty appreciative of it.
The internet is my job. It's also my hobby.
It's just a hobby for me right now.
It's also my life. It's also in danger. Support net neutrality.
God damn it. Please contact your local representative. We'll have a phone number down in the description.
Well,
God.
There goes the fourth wall already.
Yeah, that was fast. Didn't last long.
Contact your Japanese representative today.
There you go.
Right now.
No, I mean, I think MMO Junkie is probably that. I don't want to say it's the best show this season because the season's still not over yet, but it's the first show that's
best show of the season.
It's real. It's up there. I will totally agree with that.
It's
solid show, solid ending. I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this was one of those shows where like I had watched it, and then I thought, well, like when I started it, I thought, oh, this is a pretty good show. And then like as it got to like the middle section, I was like, this could be better, but it's still entertaining. And then by the end, I was like, this is still good. I like this.
Mm-hmm.
And
tell us how you really feel, Alex.
Yeah.
MMO Junkie is my life.
No.
I am an MMO junkie. Junkie. It's my lifestyle now. I live it every day.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So overall opinions on what you liked about the show best, though?
Well, like,
I mean, go ahead.
I'm going to be making a video about MMO Junkie after I make my video about Doki Doki after I start making videos again.
Yes.
And my video about it is going to be like how MMO Junkie glorifies this idea that you can be whatever you want to be and that's okay. Like, how you want to live your life is how you want to live your life, because I don't feel like MMO Junkie does the same thing that, say, Welcome to the NHK does, where it presents being a NEET as this, like, horrifying lifestyle that causes all these mental issues. Like, Morioka wants to be a NEET, and she wants to play MMOs, and the show seems to be cool with that. I mean, like, Pedantic Romantic recently did a video about how MMO Junkie portrays Morioka's mental illness, but like ultimately it doesn't show that mental illness is a result of isolating herself. It's isolating herself is both her way of escaping that mental illness and a symptom of it.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I don't know, I like the way it portrays how different lifestyles make different people happy in different ways. Plus, there's like the implicit transgender commentary.
Hey guys, what's up with these breaks between bells here? Are they broken or something? It seems like pretty long breaks between classes.
Just a second. We're doing this kind of like pseudo podcast thing where we can you wait like an hour and then we'll tell you about these questions.
These breaks between classes seem just conveniently the very long length that it would take to record a podcast, and not at all like the very short length you would want between classes.
Well, I mean,
that's
like,
personally why I attend.
Sorry, I'm new here.
Yeah,
I'm not quite sure how this thing
that's
goes.
one of the draws of this school. That's why I applied.
Same.
Yeah, like, I came here to have a podcast-esque conversation with two friends of mine in the middle of the halls every single week.
Wow. That wasn't in any of the promotional material when I transferred.
Yeah, you have to go digging deep for it, but if you talk to any of the students who already go here, they will say the various podcasts that happen in the halls during the breaks between classes, they're the reason you go to this school. Who are you?
Yeah, I overheard something called the patron hallway chat on the way here. That was an interesting one.
Mm-hmm.
Not nearly as popular as our hallway chat.
Yeah, ours is the best. You can tell by the 200 or so people who are assembled around. How many people watch this podcast now, Matt?
About 500.
500 or so people who are assembled around us. Like, the fact that this school only has 200 students should tell you something.
You know, and it's really incredible that they can all fit in the halls the way that they do. Like, it's pretty packed in here. Like, it's amazing. That
the architecture of the school is just so unique, though, too.
Yeah. The fact that it doesn't even really exist and it's just an internet thing that we made up for convenience sake. Like, it's great architecture.
It's really well done.
Hi, Pedro.
Hey.
Welcome.
Pedro-chan, new transfer student.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here.
So you recently did a video on
So you did.
Neji no Susume. We were talking about. What's your opinion on it? For people who haven't watched your video yet, for some reason.
Well, they don't deserve to lavish my voice upon their ears. But MMO Junkie is a great show. Shows about adults are often sort of gold. And this is no exception. It deals with romance in a fairly familiarly anime way, but because it's the anime way as given to us through functioning adults, it manages to be far less tired than it generally is. On top of all its great portrayal of mental illness and sort of the more interesting ways gender can function online and stuff in that vein.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one thing I do really appreciate about the show. Now, I know I do appreciate all the things you guys talk about. But one of the things I love is that I am an MMO junkie. For those of you who don't know, I've put countless hours into MMOs that I will not name. And the person who made this show clearly plays MMOs.
Oh yeah.
As I was watching it, there's some jokes in there where I was like no one's gonna get this except for hardcore MMO fans. The whole thing about the greed sensor. I made a video on the show and I made a comment the greed sensor is very niche joke in the community. And when that came up in the show, I was like, the fuck? They actually this person actually plays MMOs.
One of us.
It's so rare. You have the creator of Sword Art Online who very clearly didn't play video games. And he openly admitted that he had never really played.
Manime Matt, if you go back to his 2002 interview, you can see that he's quite a big fan of WoW and EverQuest.
Of course he is. That's not a lie. That doesn't imply that he didn't play WoW and EverQuest or anything.
I'm just saying, Zoe's gonna make an Everything Wrong with Hallway Chats episode 5 video if we don't cover our asses.
This is episode 8, thank you.
Is it 8? I don't even know anymore. I've
me
lost
either.
track.
Yeah.
No, but the fact that they so clearly played MMOs and then managed to fit so much of that into the game really kind of caught me off guard. But I loved it.
Oh yeah.
I think it's my main problem because you got things like whatchamacallit, Overlord, which is a great show by the way, which is about an MMO player gets stuck in the world, but at the same time it's they just kind of skip over the dynamics and how the world works and just kind of he's overpowered and that's all you need to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of the video game world shows that are just mostly isekai by way of video games. And so the video game there is much less essential to the way everything functions than the video game aspect. Whereas, certainly MMO Junkie, and then even for an example of them being actually transported and trapped in that world, Log Horizon puts more emphasis on fleshing out that world as
Log Horizon Season 1
a video game.
All right, Season 2, I guess, does that fine too. I guess.
Nah, but Alex, what was your opinion on the show? I don't think you actually gave a solid statement on it.
Well, earlier I know Bryant had brought up the way that it portrays NEETs, or more specifically Moriko's her specific NEET lifestyle, and I thought it was interesting how it did like it didn't exactly condemn like the way that she acted, but like I don't know, this might just be a misinterpretation on my part of how she like how she was more so self-deprecating, so she kind of twisted that into a more negative light. But I thought that it took a more neutral stance on, like, even though she calls herself an elite NEET, she's not like, it's not saying, hey, go out and quit all your jobs and play MMOs forever.
Sakurai is a great guy, sort of being a company man and also maintaining his active MMO premise. So it isn't an outright rejection of corporate culture, although I think it's first episode scene of Moriko's perception of that world as something literally suicidal, with the faceless businessmen all marching up and throwing themselves off the edge there, was an interesting seeming statement of some stance towards the whole subject from the author.
Right.
It certainly doesn't throw out the concept entirely.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, I think it's this idea of what kind of life do you want to live? Because, like, Moriko's perception of corporate culture,
that would have been suicide.
Is that it's horribly oppressive and just something that's restraining the way she wants to live her life. For Sakurai, or even the other dude, what's his name?
I think it's like Kawai.
Koiwai. For Sakurai or Koiwai, Sakurai finds the corporate culture like something he can at least live with if he doesn't outright enjoy it, and Koiwai loves it.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of personal preference, really, which is really refreshing.
Even handedness.
Yeah, I also think it's really interesting how neither Sakurai nor Koiwai condemns Moriko. Yeah, not just the show; it's the characters. We're like, that's how you are.
I do wonder how much of that is sort of gendered, because I did think about that for a bit. Like, is it okay for the business world to be too stressful for the woman to handle, and so she just has to drop out of it, and then she finds like this sort of savior or redemption in a male figure who can maintain that position, and like presumably, right, she and Sakurai get married, and then he supports her. So like he goes through that when she can't handle it. And there's not enough there for that to be like a strong subtext.
Yeah, sure.
But it's something you could draw from the work that was interesting.
Yeah. Another thing I do love about this show is all the subtext kind of things they got going on. Because like when it's all said and done, this show is just kind of a lighthearted romantic comedy. Like that's all it really is at base. Like if you just kind of ignore everything that's going on around it, because it never goes really deep into those subjects. But the fact that it still hits each one of those, like it's very clear that it's intentionally trying to like, hey, you know, this show's more than about this like simple romance. You know, they hit up gender roles. They hit up the idea of like transsexuality. You know, going back and forth, playing male and female characters. You know, they hit business culture. They hit being a NEET and cultural ideas. You know?
But then in doing that, like, it doesn't beat you over the head with the point. Like, it doesn't try to cram something, some sort of ham-fisted message down your throat.
No, the show's very, very good at, like, implicit commentary. So, yeah.
Sorry, I cut you off. What were you going to say?
I wasn't going to say anything. I was just going to say that it's very good at implicit commentary, and I'm done.
And you did so successfully. I mean, just a remarkable showing on your part. Just
Thank you.
Good job.
I mean, this might be why I beat you in our little contest. I'm just.
This is why I have more subscribers in anime.
God damn it!
Are we really going to bring this into the conversation now? Are we really going to do this?
Congratulations on getting 20,000 subscribers, Alex.
Oh yeah, that's right. Congrats to 20,000, man. That's awesome. I wish I had 20,000 subscribers. I love being the smallest channel on this podcast. It hurts sometimes.
It's your podcast, too.
You'll reach 20K someday. Don't worry, man.
I'm not that far off. I'm like 18.5 right now.
2019, you'll get there.
By 2019.
Thanks for having so much faith in me, Alex. way to make me feel better.
Yep.
You're my Sakurai-chan.
Thank you.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, you are witnessing the downside to the internet is that you can bully. We can all bully Matt
Is that
together.
everyone's a dick on the
Dark side of the
internet?
internet,
Every
people
single
making
person.
fun of your follower account.
Yeah,
Speaking
that's something that I actually love doing with my friends. Like,
Because you have more subs than any of them.
well, they don't do YouTube channels,
Exactly.
so like we get into an argument. It's like, excuse me, how many subscribers do you have?
Dude, we play this game where it's like you have to like vote, like the voting game. I don't know if you guys heard of that board game. But, like every time it's like who spends the most time on social media. It's like Matt. Like I instantly win every time because I'm always on fucking YouTube. It's like I'm sorry, I'm a failure.
See, I've kind of reached
I
this
love,
point where I'm not
go
sure
ahead, Alex.
if I'm not like I've reached this point where because I've been doing this for so long, I'm not sure like if I started making videos because I was always on YouTube or if I'm always on YouTube because I started making videos.
That's the worst like question.
It's kind of the coolest question.
Kinda.
I like the fact that YouTube was such a huge part of my life, but removed from any sort of career conceptions or aspirations, and then it just has sort of fused into it and invaded every aspect of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, that's kind of how it is
definitely
for me too, because like I had a YouTube channel way back in high school. I didn't do any analysis or anything. It was mostly just stupid, bad comedy sketches.
So you're saying that your high school didn't have a built-in podcast break during classes?
My school was actually really good, but no. Unfortunately not.
It's sort of if you grow up just consumed by books or movies, and then
You write books or you
like,
make movies.
weirdly, naturally, seamlessly, as a part of the progression of your life, just become a book author or a film director. Sort of it's the line between creator and audience being so thin and sort of undefined.
Yeah. Like, I guess that sort of makes sense to me too, because like when I was in high school or middle school, my primary form of media consumption was reading. So I wrote a lot because I wanted to create the same kind of content that was inspiring me. And then in high school, I started watching, like, who did I watch in high school? Like the Vlogbrothers mostly, Philip DeFranco, people like that. And that became the kind of content that was inspiring me, so that's the kind of content that I started making. And eventually, I mean, now I'm a YouTuber, so.
You in few other mediums can you go from like having someone say, oh, so and so is my biggest fan, and then in like 5 months or whatever be working in the same field as them and get invited onto a podcast with them.
Yeah. No, that's the craziest thing about YouTube. Is just how accessible it is.
Yeah, I think that's pretty surreal. For like me, like I'm the smallest YouTuber in this chat right now, but like
Ever, yes.
Thanks guys. Thanks guys. I have enough subscribers, okay? I'm not super small, but when I was at Anime Expo, like, you know, at that point I didn't consider myself a YouTuber. I didn't like watch any like I was super inspired by like, you know, Aki Dearest, Anime Man, Giguk, Arcada. And, you know, I'd never met them. I never talked to them. And then I ended up just hanging out, grabbing lunch with them. And we're just chilling. It's like, oh, yeah, we're all the anime YouTubers are just hanging out. And I was just remember sitting there and all like, this is such a weird thing is that like, you know, we're all technically like in the same field of work now.
Yeah.
More or less.
We're coworkers.
Oh, wait. I
We're
think
coworkers.
I took being inspired by Aki Dearest, Arcada, Anime Man, Giguk as a joke, and it was not a joke.
Oh, screw you. No. Okay, it's less about the quality of the content and more about like the personality, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's like I got into anime YouTube in part with Giguk and Arcada because those were the prevailing figures even back then. like the anime man specifically, probably is just sort of a meme as like the normie anime YouTube guy.
It's like, oh, come on. Like, I was inspired by that anime snob.
Dude, that anime snob's so cool.
What was that?
He's so great. Oh my god.
No, what was that ringtone?
Oh, sorry, that's my phone. I gotta put it on silent. I forgot.
Are we sponsored now?
Yes, by Old Spice guys. We have $10,000 to make a commercial for our podcast now.
Thank God.
Sounds great.
Nah, but it's pretty neat. Speaking of which, we got off subject a little bit. We were talking about MMO Junkie.
We sure were.
And
what
how,
are some personal
Boyko
stories you guys have about
The
online
podcast
connections?
subject in the chat here is online connections generally, which YouTube totally falls under. It was a brilliant segue.
Yeah, I wouldn't consider this very off topic.
I don't know. I was out of ideas to talk about, so I was kind of
That's
curious.
fair.
Do you guys have? I mean, if you guys have anything else to say, like go for it. I'm chill. I'm cool with whatever.
Well, I was particularly interested.
Y'all
in
got to take out your day's anger on me. Y'all trying to all feisty today.
We're good. Look, we're just really stressed about finals, and now that all that's over, we can kind of be friends again, kinda.
I don't miss finals. I'm so glad I'm out of school. God.
Yeah, all my friends have just been like going crazy over finals, and I'm sitting here like I'm live streaming today. That's my job.
I mean, thankfully, I wasn't one to ever study, so finals weren't super stressful.
Same here.
Yeah, I was never a big studier either.
I would fail my classes if I didn't study. I had to study so much.
No, I had the odd gift of being like a mostly straight A student without any studying at all.
Yeah, that's the best. Like
I just started hating you for some reason.
Yeah. I wound up with a 397 when I graduated with my bachelor's, but only because I didn't turn in the second draft of my final paper.
Oh my god.
Yeah, my major.
No.
You guys are jerks. I'm just sitting here. God. I got my bachelor's with a 3.5. You know what? I'll take it. I'm happy with it. Okay.
Hey, nicely done.
Yeah.
It's all good. I dropped
I didn't
out,
even
so you're better
get a
than
degree,
me.
so
Thank you,
what
Alex.
does all my
We're
lack
friends
of
now.
studying in high school matter in the end?
Like, I always give Evan a hard time because he's really conscious about his grades and all. So, like, he comes home and he's like, oh, man, I made a 97 on my exam. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's great. I really admire the way that you can be content with yourself despite not being perfect. It's great that you don't, like, strive for something that you'll never achieve.
The internet is great at giving people a propensity towards that, just because you can get exposed to people who are just impossibly proficient.
Oh, yeah.
And of a standard that you should not at all beat yourself up over not aspiring towards, and yet you're seeing the very best of the best, and can only beat up on yourself for failing to live up to that.
No, like, I see Hank Green, who, like, does literally everything, who's just released a book. He's an entrepreneur. He, like, runs the Vlogbrothers channel, founded VidCon, founded PodCon, like, he makes board games. Like, what are you? Are you a person still? What part of you did you augment to become this proficient?
People like that, like, I envy people like that. Like, there's a professional wrestler, to get into my nerdiness, by the name of Chris Jericho. He, like, not only was he a professional wrestler for, like, over, like, 2 decades, but he started a rock band, he writes books, he does all this cool stuff, and I'm just like, dude, you're amazing. How did you become this amazing?
Yep.
You guys watch Casey Neistat's vlogs?
No.
Yeah,
Dude, they are just...
Yeah.
They are painful. You just sit there and watch that. Dude, that guy just, like, never sleeps.
Yeah,
I swear to God.
He's pretty insane.
He's what I watch when I
I'm
need,
not
like,
familiar.
a reason
What does
to
he do?
move. He, everything. He's a filmmaker, like, speech writer. He does, like, inspirational speeches all over the place, I think. He also runs a company with CNN. He also does daily vlogs.
Yeah, the big thing with Casey Neistat, he was a YouTube guy who had like a few viral sort of short film / sketch things. He was a filmmaker. He did stuff with HBO. And then he started his daily vlog series and sort of became one of the biggest vlogger guys, and also sort of the image for quality vlogs. He'd do cool cinematography stuff. He did a lot of drone shots. Nerdwriter did an analysis of his style, which is really cool. And recently he's just sort of been expanding his empire.
Basically, he doesn't sleep.
Yeah.
Like, he's one of those kind of people who was like, ugh.
Oh, yeah.
I could never live a life like that.
No, but I want to live a life like that. I want to be the kind of person who just does everything.
Sleep, but I sleep with an incredibly fluid schedule now, just because I'm this abstract entity that exists merely on the internet and has no physical grounding in actual world or society.
The actual world. We know there's no difference anymore.
It's very interesting to just sort of like float around disconnected from all that. It's sort of surreal, actually.
See, what I think is kind of interesting.
I kind of enjoy it. Go ahead.
Well, like, I'm kind of interested in the idea that, like, doing something like this where, like Pedantic said, you just kind of float around. Like, I think it'd be interesting how I'll hear certain people will, like you really don't have a set schedule to work off of. So, like, if you want to, maybe not necessarily want to, but if you have to stay up for, like, a full day and make a video, like, you can do that. Like, then
just about every week, certainly on average, I'll have at least a day where I'm up for 24 hours.
Yeah.
Or longer. But then, like, you could just go to bed at 1 p.m. and be asleep for 12 hours. So, like, it still kind of sucks being up for 24 hours straight. It, like, strains you a bit. But, like, you could recover and sort of work with that being a regular part of your schedule.
Yeah. Like, whenever I do a main channel video, it basically involves being up for 24 hours editing before it releases. So, yeah,
and
I know
that's
how that
a big
is.
benefit. That's a big benefit when it comes to just, like, inspiration, because I can't tell you how many times I've thought of a video at, like, 10, 11 at night, and I have work the next day, and it's like, well, shit, I'm going to lose this, or I can lose sleep, and it's like, you got to make a sacrifice.
Oh, yeah. Early on in my channel, sort of before I lost the concept of time entirely, I mean, I've always had a pretty strong procrastination streak. And so most of my work sort of got done late at night. And so it would sort of be like, okay, this is, general bedtime. And now I start writing the script and I'm up for like 2 to 5 hours typing this thing out now.
I've done that to myself so many times.
Yeah.
Actually, just this week. So I also made a video on MMO Junkie, basically. And originally I was gonna make the video. I was just gonna cancel this week's upload because like so much shit happened this week. But for some reason, I woke up at 2 a.m. of the day it's supposed to go live.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? Let's see if I can do it. So I didn't even have a script written. I sat down, wrote the script, recorded it, edited it, put it up. And I got it up within 20 minutes of my deadline. And the first comment was like, Matt, I love your content. You're it takes a while, but it's always quality. And I'd never have been hurt so bad by a comment before. I was like, if only you knew.
Yeah.
If only you knew that this video started 12 hours earlier.
The days of half day turnaround video production, and those are great. It's not because it's gotten harder. I've gotten universally harder working. It's just because I have the time to take longer now, and so I'm lazier, and I won't make an entire video in a single day.
Yeah.
Oh, so here's a good question. Do you guys prefer to work with deadlines or work off of inspiration?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I do. I guess I prefer to work off of inspiration, but only because it means I get to spend 6 months playing Ark until I finally decide to make a video.
The big key for me has been soft deadlines. So with that procrastination streak, you sort of have the inevitable cycle of approaching the due date, you still haven't done anything, and then it's just intense, vicious self-hatred over the fact that you haven't done it, and combined with the mounting pressure of I need to get this done. Whereas I found with YouTube that I do have the deadlines, especially with the per video Patreon model that I had been on until like just a few days ago. But if like I miss a day and like I push it back, in just about every case, that's not gonna matter too much or be disastrous. So I have both the benefits of like that sort of internal mental clock. I need to get this done by X date, but also the ability to sort of give myself leeway and not beat myself up over it. So like in previous instances where it's no, this needs to be done tonight. If I'm like listening to a podcast and playing a video game, or a new YouTube video releases, I can go, well, I should be working on that, but ultimately it doesn't matter, and like the extra hour it gets put off for me to do this is not worth beating myself up over. I'll just enjoy this as I'm doing it, and then go get the work done.
Yeah.
I'm
feel
part of
that, but like at the same time, soft deadlines absolutely don't work for me. It's like, well, if I enjoyed the last YouTube video, I don't see why I should beat myself up for enjoying one more. It's like, man, that was a great YouTube video. I mean, I've already put off the video this long.
You definitely need to like find that balance of exactly how soft your deadline is. And I mean, I'm not like particularly happy with the degree to which I will delay stuff a lot of the time, but I mean, I do have that like 3 videos a month, so at the very least that's happening. And I do think that the weekly video streak I had for whatever it was, like 5 months, was massively important, because I just internalized productivity to a pretty strong degree.
Right. Yeah, I tried to do weekly videos 1 month. That is not going to happen. Period.
See, that's what I'm trying to do this month. I never like announced anything, but I was like, I'm gonna see if I can do this, because like this past year for me, while it has been the most enjoyable for me on this platform, I burnt myself out trying to like balance 2 channels at once. Just because I have a tendency to be a bit of maybe a little more than a bit of a workaholic. So I always feel like I need to be productive at all times. And what that ended up doing to me was that I would want to be productive. So I'd sit down and have like a script or a video open to edit, and I just could not focus on it. Like I would zone out, like I just didn't have it. So now I'm kind of trying to, because even before I would struggle with hard deadlines just because sometimes I put too much into my projects. Like, I made a big 6-hour video earlier this year, and that ended up getting put off like a month to make it what it was. But where was I going with this? God dang it, I did it again. Somebody take over while I think. Anyone?
I think you might be cutting out, Alex.
Yeah, you're cutting out.
No. Oh, I because I forgot where I was going, so I said someone take over.
Yeah, the someone take over got cut out.
No, what was I going to say? For me, I'm part of the team hardcore deadlines, because I feel like I'm one of those people.
Consistency.
I'm one of those people who like I know, like, I'm not always inspired to make one video. Like sometimes, like I just have to force videos out.
Maybe
but sometimes
that's why
I find
under 20K star.
Oh, wrecked.
Shots
if you were
fired.
lazier like us, then you would be a much higher subscriber
The secret to YouTube success.
I feel like that's not how that works.
You just gotta follow your heart, man. Just make the content you're inspired to make.
Yeah, when that inspiration comes every month and a half.
Mm-hmm.
I have rent I have to pay.
Yeah.
No, but what was I going to say?
So does Brian.
No,
Doesn't stop him.
Shh. Don't tell them my secret.
This has now just become the shit talking hallway chats members podcast.
Mm-hmm. No, we're
Pedro,
talking
you're
about
way too
like,
well.
No, we're talking about how our lifestyles are centered around the internet and online creations,
make you
just
into
like Moriko.
Terrible people.
Don't judge my lifestyle,
others
Pedro.
on podcasts.
No, what was I saying though? Totally lost track of what I was talking about.
Hard deadlines.
Oh yeah, I'm a big fan of hard deadlines because I feel like I hate myself for it sometimes. I do make bad content because of it sometimes. I feel like a lot of my videos, not a lot, but like there's a few I could easily name where I was like, shit, I just should not have made that video.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, every once in a while, I'll be forced into a deadline and then I'll end up making a video I love. Like one of my favorite ones is like how to choose your waifu. Like that was the one that was forced. Like I had no ideas that week. I was like, what if I just do something stupid like this? I was like, I'm going to hate this. And then when I uploaded it and like finished it, I was like, this is one of my fucking favorite videos I've made. You know, every once in a while, like forced creation, you get something cool. Yeah. That's what I love.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, go ahead.
Oh, well, I was going to say,
sorry, I didn't even hear that Alex was going to say something. Go ahead.
God dang it. What is it with me and technology? Someone else can go. I've ruined everything.
Hi. I forgot what I was going to say, too.
I didn't. So
okay, go ahead.
Obviously, like, some bar of just like general competency is required for this, but I found that low standards for your own work can be, like, hugely beneficial because a decent number of videos that having them in my hands ready to release, I've said, like, gosh, I really hate this. It's quite bad. I've released to a generally quite positive reception. And there is sort of a degree to which you just can't judge your work too accurately. Mm-hmm. And so sort of having that permissiveness with yourself to release stuff that maybe you're unsure of or is a bit experimental or weird, I think is a very important factor.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely agree with that because I had an experience with that with my most recent video as I was working on it. Like, usually I'll write the script and I'll be confident in it, and then as I'm editing it, it all falls apart in my head. And I'm just like, oh god,
gets drained away.
Mm-hmm.
But then, I was like, I just want to finish this, grind through it, and get it up so it can be out of my hands. And then people did like it, so it's like, am I being, maybe I should just learn to let go every once in a while and just do the thing.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't ever cancel any of my uploads. Like, I always upload whatever I'm done with.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even if it's bad, just because I think most people just want to see the work I've done at the very least.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's not good, in my opinion. The only video I've ever pulled down was My Hero Academia versus whatchamacallit, and I only pulled it down so I could redo it and re-upload it the next week.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was just factual inaccuracies in it.
Right.
Well, yeah, because
the thing, that's a bad video.
Because the thing about that is, if you spend all this time working on something and then just don't upload it, then no one can see it. No one can, critique it, and you yourself can, if you don't upload something, it could be lost to the void forever, and you forget about it. Whereas if you actually post that, it might be bad, but you can learn from it and get other perspectives on it and learn new ways to learn from it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what I was going to talk about this whole time, and I may have already mentioned it on the podcast because I talk about it a lot when it comes to my philosophy on content creation, is that Digi uploaded this video on one of his side channels about how at least when you're first starting out creating things, you need to focus on making content fast, not making content good.
Yes.
Because the first content that you make isn't going to be up to your standard 5 years from now.
Yeah.
I haven't adopted that philosophy, as anybody who subscribed to my channel may have noticed, but I need to, because it's a good one.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just put out all the shit. Just anything that you make it fast, put it out there. Odds are somebody's gonna like it. So.
No, I agree. I think it's a good philosophy, honestly. I'm a big fan of that kind of
Plus,
thing.
like, that's the only way you get practice, is by making things. So, make a lot of things, get a lot of practice. Eventually, like, you'll get to the point where the content that you make at 100% of your power now will be the content that you can make very quickly in the future. If you make content quickly and practice a lot now.
Shirobako. You know the lessons. Don't lie to
I
yourselves.
haven't seen Shirobako.
You fucking piece of shit.
You want to be even
Shirobako's
madder
really
at me?
Oh,
I watched the first episode of Shirobako, and I'm like, this isn't impressive. And I dropped it.
Oh, damn.
I'll watch it all eventually.
He's going to put it on the plan to watch list.
Oh yeah, the ever-growing
As
plan to
Gigok.
watch list that everybody has.
Yeah.
I did finally get around to starting Bebop.
Oh, okay.
Oh, nice.
That's a good one. It's a solid show. It's a classic, so you
Yeah,
kind
of
have
course.
to watch it.
Classic.
Yeah, classic. But
My
that's
favorite episode is
irrelevant to
Sequel.
online connections. That's truly missing the point.
Episodes,
I haven't gotten to them.
Mr. TV Wave Culty Cult Man.
Sure. Sure. Whatever you say.
It's a good show.
Anyway.
Well, this podcast has gone so off script. It's
That's
impressive.
what's script, Matt? There's no script.
It's just
No,
a
it's
casual
great, though. This is a fucking
conversation.
amazing
you don't
podcast.
read
I
off
love
a
this one,
script
yeah.
in a casual conversation.
This casual conversation has gone way off script.
Yeah, this casual conversation. So casual. It's amazing.
Yeah, it
on-
actually
on
sounds
these-
like we're friends talking in a hallway at school. Except that we're all adult professionals who have jobs.
That makes it so much more awkward when you point that out.
We're adult professionals talking in the hallway of a random high school. Just like,
How
oh,
long
yeah,
till we get kicked out?
I bet the kids would like listening to this. They're all about this kind of conversation these days. They like the Annie tubes.
There you go.
Like, comment, and subscribe.
I think I did have
Yeah.
one kid who my younger brother was like, "Oh, they know you," in his high school, which was funny.
Cool.
I had a guy come over. I can't believe I haven't told you this yet, Brian. I had a guy come over who I'd never met before, and we were talking. And I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm a big fan of anime YouTubers." I'm like, "Oh really?" I was like, "List some to me." And he's like, "Exclamation point." He's like, "One of my favorite ones." And I was like,
Is
Fuck,
this
no.
else? Just no. Damn it!
he was like, "This is awesome."
By any chance?
No, he doesn't. He was like, "There's this awesome underground guy called Exclamation Point." I was like, "He's not underground."
underground?
I mean, to be fair,
Underground.
explanation
What does that
point
make me?
is underground for the mainstream. Like for a normie audience, he's underground.
I guess.
Yeah,
For now.
you're not quite mainstream yet. You have to make at least 5 videos before you get there.
Grade 5. Yeah. No, like, I've never heard of somebody who has heard of me without either A, being an online connection, or B, being a friend of a friend. So.
Yeah, but that was what was cool about it, is that like this guy, like I had never met him before, and he didn't know who I was, and he just happened to watch your content. I was like, that's actually kind of cool in a
Neat.
way. I told him we did this podcast together, and he's like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." And he just he's a big fan.
Awesome. Yeah. Hi, Matt's acquaintance. He was right.
What else to talk about? I'm trying to think.
I mean, we managed to get this far without bragging about online GFs. Good thing we didn't have Jeff on, or that wouldn't have been the case.
Online girlfriends. I've never had an online girlfriend. I try to stay away from that crap as much as possible.
Me either.
Alex?
Alex Pedro?
No, I've got one. I felt like, hey guys, check out my outlet. Yeah, it's a funny one. I met her in the comments of my first video.
Wow.
And then it turns out, like, unrelated to that, she had read one of my blog posts, and, like, at most, those had, like, 12 views. And, like, my YouTube and blog weren't linked in anyways. That was really odd. But someone else in the comments was giving me, like, tips for my atrocious audio. And so I linked them my Skype just in the comments so we could chat about it. And so she just replied to that with, like, probably shouldn't, like, link your Skype publicly. And I didn't know how that all worked.
Yeah.
No, she added me on Skype to message me and tell me that. And so that's how we started talking, yeah.
You don't have an online girlfriend. You have a stalker girlfriend.
Yes, that is kind of unhealthy behavior, but also kind of cute.
See, but I like hearing stories, like, just stories of people meeting through the internet and, like, just the idea of, like, potentially finding your soulmate through the web. I just think it's so cute. I love it. I love hearing those stories.
It's like, when... I feel like this day and age is the only time when a fictional story about two soulmates meeting could be realistic.
Yeah, because, like,
now we're connected to everybody.
Connections based upon mutual compatibility can happen much more easily because of sort of this sorting by interest and background that the interest can do.
Yeah.
Like, who would I be compatible with? Someone who's, like, weird enough to be watching AniTube videos from people who have literally 0 subscribers. Like, that's a pretty select group you've narrowed it down to there.
Yeah. And, like, this is the only time there has ever been in human history where, 1, AniTube exists, and 2, like, you can find those kinds of people relatively easily. Like, you don't have to live next door to Brazilda the farmer's daughter and just accept that because it's your only option.
What's the? Here we go. Here's a good question. Here's a good segue. What's the weirdest online connection you've ever had? I guess.
Ooh.
Most interesting.
One of the more interesting is probably my stalker guy. Not like romantic stalker, like aggressively dislikes me stalker.
I think that's still romantic.
Is it pedantic or is it romantic? Answer in the comments
Find
below.
out next week.
The funniest one for me was just recently. I made a tweet, like, replying to someone else. Not like a at all large Twitter. And my Twitter was not followed by this person. Nor was the Twitter I was replying to followed by them. This is not like the pedantic romantic Twitter, just my Lachlan Still personal one. And within an hour, they had, like, quote tweeted it with this snarky, demeaning reply. Like, they just must be refreshing my tweets and replies on my personal Twitter every hour to have caught that, which I find immensely amusing.
Wow.
Yeah, that sounds a little scary, actually.
I mean, their Twitter feed is... There's Mother's Basement, there's Digibro, there's me, and there's, like, one more AniTuber. So thankfully, it does, it's that, like, super personal to a degree that feels worrying. They just, like, hate big AniTubers and then me for some reason.
I don't know. I can't think off the top of my head of any, like, really weird online interactions I've had.
But yeah, I think online interactions are sort of fairly normal to a degree now, where this is not necessarily going to be this wealth of weird interactions, because it's just part of regular life at this point.
Well, I mean, I was talking less about weird, more about interesting. So I have an interesting story about an
Hit
online.
me.
interaction.
Yeah, set the tone for the conversation.
Set the tone for the conversation. There we go. No, so fun fact. I don't know. I'm all about taking risks every now and then. And I made a friend online who lived in California, and I live in New Orleans. I lived in New Orleans for a while, and I was just like graduating college, and I was like, man, I really want to move out to where the film industry is because I got my degree in filmmaking. But New Orleans, the film industry died, so I had either California or Atlanta in my sights, and I didn't know anybody in California, didn't know anybody in Atlanta, and I was like, what about my friend who I know online? Mm-hmm. So I contacted him. I was like, hey man, it's like, do you have like a place I could stay? He's like, actually, he owns a house.
Okay.
And he's like, yeah, we're trying to rent out rooms. I'm like, all right. I was like, so if I drove up to California, it's like, how much would rent be? And he told me the price and everything, and signed a lease and so on. I was like, all right, I'll be there in a month. Mm-hmm. I drove up here, and now I'm living in his house. I've been living in his house for like, since July, I think.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
He's awesome. We're really good. I mean, we've played games for years, but it's really neat because like we had always been a clique of online gamers, and I didn't realize that he knew all the people that we played with in real life. I was just that one person that wasn't part of the clique that didn't know in real life. So I'm like meeting all of these people whom I don't really physically know in real life. I'm like, oh, that's so-and-so, that's so-and-so, who I've played tons of games with, and then I just instantly like fit into the group. It was like the best experience ever.
Cool.
Awesome.
So I just kind of like walked up to California, then instantly had an awesome friend clique of like 15, 20 people, whom it was just like the weirdest experience, but also like super awesome.
Oh, I guess I will say for like weird serendipity, that girlfriend of mine, her family has a timeshare in my state.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Rhode Island. So, like, we're the smallest state in the United States, but her family just happens to be in a position where they'll be visiting the state.
That's pretty neat.
All right. No, I don't have any stories like that.
What about
as far as I know?
Alex?
Yeah, you've got all these extravagant tales. The most I've got is like this one person who, because I used to be in like this online wrestling video game like federation group thing, so we'd like do matches against each other, and that was like 6 years ago. So that lasted for like 3 years, and that was around the time when I started doing YouTube, so they were kind of like connected. But then the just life stuff and switching to new consoles with the games changing, it's just like the group just sort of fell apart. And like that was back in 2014, so it had been quite some time since I had like last talked with him. But every now and then he would pop up in my YouTube comments, and then like 6 months ago he became a patron of mine. So I was like, oh, that's cool. What's that guy? So that was really nice, that this guy that I met 6 years ago, back when I was being a doofus, he's still, I still have a connection with him, even though like we don't speak a lot, but like he's there. So that's cool that there's someone who like I can still go back and like, I don't know, he's still connected to me.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
But nothing in real life, great. Or at least not yet.
All right, guys. Well, I think class is about to end. We'll start. My bad.
Okay.
Whatever it is.
So let's just keep going for another hour. We already skipped one
class is about to end.
Yeah, there's. Yeah, I mean we've already skipped one class. We may as well skip another. I mean it's not like it's going to be that big of a deal. People have already been waiting 6 weeks for videos. What?
That's just you. That's on you.
We can just do it another week. I mean, they're not gonna know.
Oh, we should probably mention that we are switching the podcast to every other week for people who are
they'll notice.
Curious. They'll notice. But yeah, we just run out of topics, honestly.
Yeah. No.
If you guys send us a lot of topics
in the comments, the comment things.
Give us content.
Yes.
We're done giving you content. It's time to reciprocate a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
We have a mutual
some
agreement
kind of
here.
exchange here.
And
or just go pledge to my Patreon.
Yeah, patreon.com/explanation point. Pedro's Patreon.
Yes.
You know, that reminds me. When
Sweet
is
deal.
All right, well,
When is
this
the
has been
tournament
Manime Matt.
continuing?
Explanation points.
Math whiz.
Alex, did you say
Gargled
Alex?
noises from.
Oh my god! I'm here. I'm here. I promise. I'm here. Math whiz is alive.
And the pedantic romantic.
See you guys next time.
Bye.